a set number, right? It's,
Right.
and so
And I
knowing
think
that,
especially on that point, real quick, like I think like you said before, a lot of mature entrepreneurs can kind of like understand that. But I think when you're looking at the paper and you're like, okay, boom, we generated this much revenue this month, but like cash on hand, like there's a difference between the income statement and the balance sheet, right? Balance sheet is what cash you actually have on hand at the moment. Like this is a snapshot of what's going on. Income statement is
right?
just what you made. So I
Yeah,
think a lot of seasoned entrepreneurs understand that when you're early on, you're just like, oh my God, we have all these big numbers coming in, but then you don't plan ahead your expenses. You're like, you don't realize that you have to order materials for this big job coming up next month that you're going to be cash negative because you have to order all this stuff, but you technically you're in the green, right? And so I think that it takes a very skilled person to be able to do that, to be able to forecast properly and to be able to understand that, like, okay, here's how we're going to manage our expenses over the next couple months because of this difficult cash flow position. But it's way easier to just do something like what you guys are doing with retail and just have cash come in instantly or win a very like a significantly shorter time frame.
yeah. There's so many benefits to it, when you're
Yeah,
just like, here's how much it is. You want to do it? Yes. Okay, we'll do it next week. We're done. And then they pay you. And
right.
the relationship is better too, because the
Way
longer you're
different.
in someone's life, I don't care how good you do, people just get fatigued. And so in an insurance claim process, I mean, a lot of the times it's like, oh, thank goodness we're done with, like, I don't have to talk to
Yeah,
Eric anymore. Like finally, 4 months later, we're through it. And with retail, it's just kind of as long as you've got your processes dialed in and you're communicating really well, and the product comes out good, like it's more of it's a happier experience kind of for everybody. And even like our crews, when we first started, I'm working with the same crews I worked with before. So I've known these guys
it's
for 20
awesome.
years. Luckily, I had equity with them of like, because I was like, we're going to do work in the mountains. And they were like, we don't want to do that. And now even they're like, it's way better up here. It's way more laid back. It just seems, so we'll just lodge them up there and knock out several jobs at a time. And so even they like it. There's a lot of benefits. Um, but the retail side of it, the cash flow position that especially if you can negotiate some good supply terms, um, and pay for supplies on credit card, and like, you start getting money faster and extending, how far out you have to pay for things,
Yep.
and you understand what that does to your cash flow position, and it's magic, so.
Yeah.
And to your point, it's awesome being in the mountains. It's
Yeah.
great being up there. It's just so much more laid back, and so
Yeah.
a lot of reasons to be up there.
It's a different type of buyer, different type of experience. Um,
Yeah, it's hard. Don't get me wrong.
oh,
You
I'm
get up there
sure.
and you don't have some stuff you need. I mean,
Yeah.
but what I've learned is wherever it's hard and wherever there's a little bit of complexity, even just a little bit, it chokes out your competition. And
90% of people don't want to touch it.
exactly. They don't want to
Yeah.
do it. And an insurance claim is hard too. The difference is the storm restoration market in Denver has been around so long, and everyone's kind of a spin-off of one
Right.
another. Everyone's been shown how to do it. So it's hard, but they know how to do it.
Right.
When you start to do stuff that no one's done yet, and that's hard, now you're separating yourself and you're putting yourself into a niche in a market where there's not a lot of people there. And there's just a lot of fun in that, in
Yeah.
overcoming difficult things. So it's hard to do this stuff like logistically. Um, that's kind of why the opportunity's there.
Yeah. But they're kind of fun problems at the end of the day, too. Like I remember when we had, from at least my experience, I remember when we had a ton of jobs going up in the mountains. Like when I sold gutter, I think it was like 3 years ago. And I think it was 2022, summer of 22 or summer of 23. We had crazy, crazy storms in Colorado. Like it was raining like
Yeah.
nuts. It had a ton of hail. Um,
2023.
yeah,
Yeah.
23. And that was when I was in like my peak selling gutter time. And we had a bunch of jobs that would go up in the mountains. And we'd be driving up there in our like little Chevy Colorado like salesman's truck, and we'd be driving up these driveways that are all dirt and stuff. I was like, "There's no way we're gonna get a box truck, like a box truck up here." I was like, "How is this gonna?" And I at that time I was doing a ride along with Craig, who's one of the more advanced sales guys of that company, and he was like, "Oh no, they got it. Like they no problem." I was like, "They can do it." And I was like, are you sure? Because we're having to like really maneuver this tiny little Chevy Colorado around here. And I was like, could not even imagine. And especially with roofing, where the materials are physically larger, you have physically more materials, and it's harder to get them up and down vertical spaces than just some, folded metal. It's
Yeah.
I can imagine how that you got to kind of have a wherewithal of like, okay, you gotta have some common sense. Do you do that, or is that like, do you have like a project manager who like handles most of that stuff? And if so, are they good at it? Did you find a good one, or are you still looking?
Yeah, we're still very much in the phase where Tyler and I are doing a lot of the stuff. And a lot of it's a lot of it's stuff like that's like that where you really
Yeah,
have to, we're still very much in the reputation building phase, right? So,
fair. Yeah.
and we're still very much in the figuring out the nuances of our processes and how how we want to go about that stuff. And so we're involved pretty heavily in every project still.
Hmm.
But yeah, stuff like that. But you're right. It is what makes it fun. And again, it's what makes it a unique enough opportunity that and a complex enough one that, um, kind of weeds out a lot of you're competing against real craftsmen roofers that have to
Yeah.
really know how to manage a project. And the other thing is you have to have really good relationships with your crews to pull this stuff off. You have to have really good relationships with your supplier to pull stuff off. Luckily, Tyler was at ABC for 13 years.
Oh wow, that's
So when it
awesome.
comes to logistic stuff like that, where we're asking them to do some tough things, like you have to be in good standing with them. You have to have good relationships with them.
Yeah.
Same with the crews. It's crazy in roofing, like what a hack it is to just pay your crews on time. It's
Right.
and
Give them lunch, give them water bottles.
some lunch,
Like,
some water bottle, and pay them every Friday. And just kind of
yeah,
common sense things you would think. It really, really goes a long way. And it's crazy how many still just don't do that. And
yeah,
the mountains, you have to be kind of dialed in on everything.
right. Because everything's just a
Relationships,
little harder. Like it's just a
it's a
little bit
little
more
bit
difficult.
harder, and you're
Yeah.
asking everyone to do something that's a little bit harder.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
No,
yeah.
that's awesome. And I completely agree. I think they're like we said, it's hard. There's problems, but a mentor of mine always says it's money problems, right? Would you rather have the problems of having to compete with everyone else and being broke because the market's saturated and you can't stand out, or would you rather have the problem of doing what you're doing, but you're having to figure it out, right? You're having to build the ship as you're sailing.
Yeah.
And I always choose the latter. That's what I would always prefer. Um, but I think that's awesome, and I would love to pick your brain over a coffee sometime about more of that stuff, because that's like what really fascinated me about when I was in the sales side of doing all that stuff. So, but I wanted to ask, as we kind of wrap up here, what's the vision, right? Like, you started this company about a year and a half ago. You had this idea of where you wanted to take it based on your knowledge of your past experiences. And so far, you guys are doing exactly that, right? Like, you are absolutely crushing it in just the first couple of years of being in business. What's the end goal? Where's the trajectory? I know you said you wanted to take this as more of a mature entrepreneur and build it to sustain and build it to not only provide for yourself but the other people involved. What's kind of the end goal for you guys?
Yeah. I don't know if we know that for sure. Tyler's a little bit younger than me. I'm 41. This is definitely more of a legacy feel project for me.
Mm,
Um, Obviously, you got to look at bottom line and stuff. My first one, I mean, I grew up pretty on the low income scale of things, and so you know, getting out of that was a pretty top of mind thing for me when I
right.
was young. And so we had a great company, we had great crews, we did really good work, but it was more of a financially driven frame of mind, which I think is kind of why I got out of it eventually. I think that wasn't fulfilling anymore. And this one's more I want to build a company that people want to work for. I want to grow people. I want to grow people's careers, even if that means, they're getting recruited from my company because I'm making awesome people. Like that would be awesome for me.
Yeah.
My last company, if someone left, I was young, I was like, I'd get upset about it. And now
Yeah.
it's kind of the opposite. I want to have that experience through the growth of this company. And then selling a company, the only thing I know as far as like what our strategy is for the future is I learned when you build a company, build it to sell it.
Hmm.
Um, Not to say you're gonna sell it, but if you're building something that, private equity or even, just someone who wants to buy a business is attracted to, you probably have something that you don't want to sell.
Right.
You probably have something where you have really good people that you can trust that are running everything for you. Because the more you're not involved, the more valuable that company is for someone to buy it, right? Because they can buy
100%.
it and they don't have to be in the company. They can be more
Yeah.
of a strategic visionary to grow it and move it, where they want to take it. But if you have that, I mean, shoot, if you have a company that's doing 25, 30 million and you're just kind of the visionary of it and you have people you can trust, like you're probably not going to want to sell it, which is why people want to buy it. And so I just think this go round, we're looking at it from a lens of what makes this an attractive company to
Hmm.
buy. Um,
Yeah.
Again, not that that's, something that we've decided that we want to do. It's the way it makes you look at it in a way that creates a really healthy company, I think. So
Right.
that's kind of it. We projected through 2031 on our pro formas and our growth strategies and kind of what that looks like and mapped that out. Um, but at the same time, it's new territory for me, even though I've done this before. It's a whole different way to build something. So we're also still trying to be very fluid in the way we're doing it and just kind of building it piece by piece and make smart decisions and see where it goes.
There we go. I love that. I love that. I love that. Well, I appreciate you coming on the podcast today. This has been one of my favorite episodes just because I feel like we're very much so on the same frequency when it comes to a lot of these things. And we're very similar in our story. I think I'm just you, probably like 19 years younger. But I love it. I think it's awesome. I think what you guys are doing is super fun. And I love seeing something that's just a little bit outside the mold, something that's just a little bit different. Someone with the mindset of building it to sell it, right, without the goal of selling, but knowing that that framework and that structure of a company is just going to bring peace of mind and financial health and just structure for everyone around it. A mentor of mine always says there's like a very much so underrated metric in business, which is sanity, right? Everyone always looks at revenue and profit and what's our runway and what's our enterprise value, but very very few people ever look at the sanity metric, right? How sane are you waking up every day, getting ready to go into work and work on the business? Um, and it sounds like you guys are in a much better spot sanity wise now than you were when you started your first one. So that's always a huge plus.
Yeah,
But
it's a great way to put it because it's true. First one, I wanted the money.
right.
This one, I want the sanity, the peace of mind,
Yeah.
the time,
Yeah.
so it's a
That's
good way to
awesome.
put it. But yeah, we should get together, grab some coffee or something. We're right down the street from each other. So
Yeah.
I want to hear more about NaiL. Ethan's
Yeah.
told me a little bit about it. I think it's probably a conversation we should have um, just with what we're doing. We're kind of
For
right on the
sure.
cusp of really starting to look at some stuff like that. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, I want to definitely hear about more of that and what you have going on for sure.
Can do. Can do. Well, I appreciate you coming on, my friend, and we'll close out here. Thank you again.
Yeah, thanks for having me.